And hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Conversations of Agile Change. Some of you may have seen that last Friday I did a post on LinkedIn which got a few people a little bit agitated. The post was about uh, basically, if you are defining yourself as a ProSci certified change practitioner on your CVs, you're just going to blend in with everybody else in the market. And it was really about the importance of differentiating yourself as a change practitioner. But it did agitate a few people. My DMs got a little bit crowded, and there were both commentary and questions around the recruiting of change practitioners. So I couldn't think of anybody better to go to on short notice than Tracy Petrie, who is absolutely finger on the pulse. Tracy runs the White Cloud Recruitment, specializes in change management recruitment. And I've got to say, as an aside, if you are working in the space looking for change practitioners, it is an absolute no-brainer to go out and get a specialized change management recruiter. I can't tell you how much time and effort it is going to save you and the quality of outcomes you're going to get from it. So, with over 25 years in recruitment, Tracy started working in technology, placing senior roles before exclusively moving into the space of change and transformation about 14 years ago, which is where Tracy and I first met. She works closely with organizations on some of their most complex transformation programs. Tracy, welcome to Conversations of
Hello,
Agile
Jen.
Change.
I'm very excited to be here.
Excellent. Excellent. So am I. You can get me out of the hole I've dug myself into.
Well, it's not a whole, it's just people have different opinions. And
Yes.
because this is my bag, this is my space, I see thousands of CVs. I talk to loads and loads of clients specifically around this, and a lot of them do have that question around that ProSci
Yeah.
certification. So, yeah, happy to have a chitty chat and see if we can alleviate some of those
Yes.
DMs that are coming in.
And I should say from the very outset, um, which I did say in the post, but I don't think it was read. No shade on
No,
having
not at
ProSci
all.
as a
No, not at all.
certification, right? And in fact, in a lot of organizations, it's really necessary. That's the lens through which they see change. My point was, it is the market dominant certification. So many people have it. It means you tend to blend into. Anyway, I'm repeating myself.
Yes,
I'm going to get in
yes.
trouble
Yep,
again.
yep.
Um, Tracy, let's set the scene. What is the job market, the change job market actually like right now?
Yeah, so it's my crystal ball. I say this to people, is not as crystal as it usually is. So I've had 25 years in recruitment, and it was to the point where we knew the projects when they were going to happen, we knew the peaks and troughs, etc. The last couple of years, pretty much from when we saw Russia invade Ukraine, I knew it was going to go a lot quieter in that change space for a number of reasons. As you know, organizations, if they are transforming their organization, they want to make sure that they are well equipped, still have money behind them. Is it the right thing to do? Is it the best time in the market to go there? Obviously, interest rates were going up. So economically, we knew that it was going to be a lot quieter. But towards the beginning of this year, talking to clients, very much people had an agenda of we've right sized, we know we can actually put that money into moving the company forward, and therefore there'd be more change roles because of these transformations. And then obviously we had the Middle East come up, and so a lot of clients are taking. I mean, there's roles out there,
Yeah.
but people are taking a long time to actually either get the funding or just press that green button. I mean, I know of roles that have been going on for months and months. So the market is definitely better than where it was 2 years ago, but it just is a bit slower than we usually like to see.
Hmm. Is there a correlation with any particular industry? So if we're seeing this wobbliness or slowing down because of external factors, particularly global tensions and wars and those kind of things, are there any particular industries that are more affected by this than some? Or like are there safe places to go and look for work, or are there areas that are
Yeah,
now?
that's a really good question. I don't work in the utility, so like the petrol BP as an example, and some of the gas and military. Obviously, they have specific suppliers for their work. I'm not sure what that market's like, but the rest of the market, I think people are just being a bit more cautious.
Mm.
It's not to say they're not going out there and doing it. I think there'll be industries probably in that financial sector where perhaps some of the risk and reg type programs will just continue on ticking along.
Yeah.
But if there is an organization that might be global, that has a product that goes global, that's maybe where you'll start to see a few more people going, maybe just wait, see what happens.
Yeah, and I imagine those companies also that are dependent on supply chains. It comes
Correct.
down to
Yep.
how safe
Yep.
is your supply chain at the
Yep.
moment, or what type of changes do you need to make as an organization to
Yeah.
accommodate the
Yep.
shifts in supply chains. So I think that plays into it. Okay, what all of this experience, um, what makes you stop on a CV within 10 seconds?
I think it comes down to making your CV really clear and concise. So, what I look for is relevance. So, obviously, if I am looking for someone who's got a specific ERP experience, I want to see that in the project. A CV that has no information or hundreds of bullet points, and I have to search and find, you've lost me. And so I think if I have to hunt for it, any recruiter, if they have to hunt for it, you're going to lose their interest. If it's just super fluffy and generic language and not specific around a project, you're going to lose the people. So what I hunt for is relevance straight away and a clear, concise CV that I can see. Project this. This is what I did. This was the result. Next project.
Mm. That's interesting. Okay. And the reason why that's standing out for me is one of the common um, frustrations from a change practitioner perspective over the years
Mm, mm,
has been companies who want change practitioners as SMEs. So must have experience on SAP. Whereas from my perspective, don't need it at all. You need to understand change management process and approach and how people behave in
yeah,
change.
yeah.
And so I'm one of
It,
those people who've probably pushed back on
Yeah, of
that.
course. Yeah, of course. So I always say to people, in a market like it is at the moment, which there is a lot of candidates on the market, a client can say, I want A, B, C, and D. So if they are looking for someone who has done a specific type of technology in a specific industry, uh, you know, they more often than not will find someone who's got that.
You're going
And
to
then
find
it's
them.
about that
Yeah,
cultural fit because they can find them.
yeah,
When it is a market where there is usually a lot of roles on, or there's, clients can't tend to be, I want A, B, C, and D, I always say to them exactly that. Look,
yeah,
a change practitioner, you could put them in TAB as an example,
yeah.
or you could put them into a totally different mining industry. What's the type of project that they've worked on before that would be more relevant than the industry? Let's be industry agnostic,
Mm,
but let's just narrow down into the depth of experience you're looking for, and then obviously that cultural fit as well. So
yeah,
right now, a client can say, I would like A, B, C, and D. Guess what? I can
yeah.
find them for that. Is it the right cultural fit? Maybe not. And that's when we start talking to them around, well, let's look at A, B, and let's look at A, B, and C. And
Yeah.
if the D is not there, that's okay for whatever reason. But clients think, well, I want all of that because I can get it. So it is about
Yeah.
explaining to them what's the outcome you're trying to get, what are some of the challenges and risks that you think this will encounter, and let's
Mm.
address that versus you just need someone with the same type of industry.
Got you. Got you. So, what are most change practitioners getting wrong at the moment?
We, so this might sting a little bit to some people, and I apologize profusely now. Misalignment. So if you see a job ad and you apply for that job ad and they want maybe enterprise transformation experience and you've only had technology and you've never done op model, maybe don't apply for that. The old spray and pray, I call it. You're spraying your CV out there, you're getting rejected for every single role. There's probably a reason for it because right now in this market, clients can ask for A, B, C, and D. So be really targeted in what you're going to go for. And it's about quality it's about Yeah, it's about the quality versus the quantity of sending your CV out. Don't apply for everything. I've recently said I was reaching out just to see some change analysts out there, 1 to 3 years experience, bit of this. They'll be supporting a role. I
Mm,
had really senior practitioners apply. I'm like, don't water down your
mm,
brand. You're showing you that you're actually desperate. So let's be really targeted. And it makes you as a candidate feel better that every
mm,
single time you're putting your CV out there, you're not getting rejected because you're being really targeted about what you're going for.
mm. That sounds very sound. Um, a question perhaps of self-interest. What's happening for
The
the
senior
senior
end,
change practitioners in the
senior
market?
as an experience versus a senior citizen. So just clarifying, because we're
I'll
both
take
in that
both.
camp
I don't care.
almost. Um, so clients still want really senior people, but what we're
Yep.
seeing with some very senior people is it's not just we want strategy. We want you to come in and do the strategy and then leave. We actually want you to come in. We want you to help us with the strategy, and we actually want you to roll up your sleeves and deliver this project. So if you're a senior practitioner and you go, oh, I haven't been hands-on for a few years, maybe now's the time to go. I might need to pick up some project and I need to show that in my CV. So
Mhm.
you may well have two CVs, one that is very strategic and consulting, and that's targeted to where you want to work, and it's
Mhm.
targeted for the role you're going for. And then another one will be where you are still working or have worked on projects. What did you do? What was the project? How many staff did you have? If you're doing it hands-on yourself, end to end, what did you do? So you might just have two CVs, but I think for senior people and those who are really operating at that strategic level right now, what you can do best is to show that you can still do hands-on
Mm.
and show that in your CV. And
Yeah,
be really clear on the positioning, but also be open on the dollars because you're not going to get $1,600 to deliver a project. If you're going in as a strategy, absolutely. But if
yeah.
you're going in there as a senior change practitioner to perhaps work on a strategy and then deliver, maybe you
Mhm.
need to equate your dollars to that as well.
Mm. It's interesting because, and again, this has always been my approach or my puzzlement whenever
Mm,
I have been on the market and applying for roles. I'm like, show me these roles where a senior practitioner has not been hands-on. I'm sorry. I've not seen for the longest time roles where purely strategy or
yeah.
not full-time roles like
Yeah,
it,
it's. I think they will come in through consulting firms,
yeah, okay.
um, and then the consulting firms will have the myriad of staff working underneath that person.
Yeah.
But from a recruitment perspective, and when I say recruitment versus consulting, it's not a statement of work. It is
Hmm.
we have a project, we will hire you on a day rate, or we will hire you on a fixed term contract, or we will hire you as a permanent employee, and we want you to work on these programs. Um, I haven't seen it either. I've placed heads of change and they're still running projects.
You right?
You're still
That's
running projects, but I still do have senior, very senior people go, I just want to do the strategy. And I'm like, well,
yeah.
maybe some of the consulting firms, the smaller consulting firms may
Yeah.
have that, but traditionally, your recruiters
Yeah.
will get those rates where you and those projects where you're required to roll up your sleeves. I remember
Yeah.
the head of change, and I'm talking 10, 12 years ago, and I won't mention her name just in case she's watching. She had 300 contractors working at NAB. She had heaps of permanent staff, and I would often see her sitting down and she's actually working on some projects. It's
Mm.
just, it's what we do.
Yeah, that's always been my puzzlement with that statement because I'm
Mm,
like, what? Sorry?
There's people
Who's
who
good?
want it. I can't help
Yeah.
them.
I actually like being hands-on though. I think like the role that gives you the opportunity to be hands-on is really
Yeah,
important because
absolutely.
how can you, it's part of that, when we start talking human-centered design and an empathy-based approach, how can you possibly do strategy or enterprise capability without being really attached to what it means on the ground, you know? But anyway, um, so how do we actually stand out in a crowded market? What's the Tracy top tips?
So I think how people can stand out, making yourself very clear on what your value is and try not to be everything. I know that's going to contradict what I'm going to talk about soon anyway, but it's around aligning yourself specifically to work. So, as an example, if you're, again, I'm just going to say ERP because there is
Mm,
so many tech projects out there, but if you're really an ERP expert and that stands out, don't start to say, I also do op model and work on global transformation if you haven't done it. But again, it comes to how do you stand out in the market, make yourself really clear what your value add is. And if you
mm,
are a technology change practitioner or through and through, that depth, make that stand out. The contradictory part that I'm getting to is we still want to see a breadth as well. So if you do
mm,
have some operating model, some transformation technology project experience, so what I call that enterprise change experience, that is perhaps what your clear, concise selling point is. I've got
mm,
all the experience, I've got the breadth, and I've got the depth. But if you've only got the depth and you don't have the breadth, don't pretend that you have the breadth, just the depth.
mm.
Have I
Okay.
confused you with all of my breadth and depth? It's around, how do you stand out? It's around, what you've done and what you've delivered, and be
Yeah.
clear about that. In your CV, you talk about outcomes around, this is how I've achieved X, Y, Z. Data, metrics, all these type of things. Put that into your CV because again, that makes you stand out. If you've said, I've done this, the
Mm,
result has been this, and this is
mm.
why the change worked, or something along those lines.
And I imagine there's also, there's value in explaining how you do change management, right? What is your change management approach? Are you using positive psychology? Are you, is it human centered? Is it agile? Are you data informed? Like,
Yes,
what's
I
your
think I think
philosophy?
that yeah, I think putting that in as well is advantageous. So I've had a lot of clients at the moment ask for I mean, I'll go back to the ProSci thing. They often go, "Can we have ProSci certification?" I go, "Great, it's part of a toolkit, but talk to me about some of the issues and who are your stakeholders and how do you think your best approach is?" And that comes back to learning more and putting in more in your toolkit with lean, agile, human-centered design, neuroscience. If you've
Yeah,
got and applied those techniques
yeah,
and approaches, putting that in your project information is also very, very relevant, but
yeah,
also makes you stand out because it shows that you're not a one shop stop
yeah,
pony, you know.
yeah, yeah. We talk about when your only tool is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right?
Yeah,
And
so
you want to show that
show
you've got a toolbox
you've got a
that's,
toolbox and you've learnt different things and you've
yes.
still and keen to learn different things.
And you know when to use a plier and you know when to use a hammer and
Yeah, but you won't know unless you do more learning.
yeah, absolutely. And I think this came up in one of the comments on the post this morning. Um, Obviously, I have a lot of skin in this game as being a provider of courses that do differentiate you. However, there is ample content on the web that is free and available. There are books in the library. There are, funds should not be
Yes,
your
yes.
barrier.
Yeah,
This is about a mindset
yeah,
for continuous learning.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of people who, if they're out of a job, they can't afford to
Yeah.
go on courses.
Mm.
And I often say to them, jump on these people's websites. There's often some free seminars, or there is a minimum cost to be able to get
Yeah.
so much value,
Yeah.
but you don't have to spend $6,000, $7,000 on it.
No, no.
And you're going to use this and you get exposure, or jump onto these people's um, uh, websites. They've got some free
Blogs,
information.
podcasts.
Correct, correct.
There's so much out there, and I think that's a really important point. I want to backtrack because you mentioned before when we were talking about the senior change
Yeah,
practitioners'
yeah, yeah.
expectations about dollars. And
Yes.
so I think one of the biggest questions I got in the DMs was about companies who are lowballing at the moment.
Yes.
And putting terrifyingly low, and again, that's a highly privileged position. What I would consider
Yeah.
terrifyingly low
Yep.
is relative to what we've charged and been paid in the last, 10 years. What's your thoughts about roles that have got really low dollars attached to it?
I'm trying to think of polite words, Jen. So from a client perspective, they are lowballing it. You pay for what you get.
Mm,
Um, if you are advertising a role and you're wanting a senior change practitioner and you're really going out to market at a low rate, and people will still apply for that, but they might not have the depth and experience that that client needs to solve their problem. And that can water down the change brand
mm,
because if it doesn't hit the spot for that client and they don't do a good job, then they go, oh, this change stuff's not good, is it? It's like, well, you haven't paid for the experience. Um, from a candidate perspective, accepting a role for whatever the circumstances are for you,
yeah.
it's all about your brand. So if you're there until the market hops up and then you bugger off, firstly, I don't blame you because you should be paying for what you get paid for what you're doing, but it's also not great for your brand.
Mm,
So it's a very, very, very sticky one. Um,
mm,
I can say though, from the roles that I've seen advertised, the rates are starting to head back where they should be. So when it is a market where it is lots of candidates on the market and the client's like, this is only budget, we're going to get someone fabulous, they may well do. And good
yeah.
on them for landing that person. But the moment this market starts to pick up again, will that person bail on them?
Mm.
Potentially.
Um, Cheeky question.
Mm,
Is
yes,
is there a danger as a dedicated change recruiter in accepting that work? Like from
absolutely.
I
Absolutely. So I'm very outspoken about this, and I've spoken to clients where I've said, I don't feel comfortable advertising this role. This is the outcomes you want. This is what you need to pay. And I often will send a market survey and I'll be very strong. And I've lost out on work, to be honest, because I
mm,
have been that honest to say to them, you don't need this, you need this level. Oh, we can't afford that. I can't find someone to fix the
mm,
issue that you have for what you're paying. I don't think it's fair. Have a look at this person. I think, yes, they can do the job. They will get an outcome that will be acceptable, but they're also at the market value. No, 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 they're not good enough experience. You know what? Good luck. Good luck. Because if I attach my brand to a candidate that takes a job that I don't think they're getting paid enough for, and therefore then they leave, that's not going to look good on me. And it's not going to look
yeah.
good on the candidate. So it's a really tricky one to be in that situation.
I
Um,
I also see it from the lens of, there's cycles in these things. And yes, this year I might be a candidate, but in 2 years I might be the person hiring.
yeah,
Who's the recruiting person I'm going to deal with? Is
yeah,
it the one who actually holds the industry to its value, or
yeah,
is it the one, anyway, it's
yeah.
it's an
And
observation.
it is,
I don't like it.
but it's also hard, from a candidate perspective. If you've got a mortgage to pay, you've got kids to
Yeah,
feed, I just
yeah,
want the bloody job. But then I've also got to go, well, you're worth more. And,
yeah.
so that's why I don't like to work on those roles where I do not feel that the client is paying enough. And I will
Mm,
give as much feedback right at the beginning. And that's why I always talk to clients when they're thinking of bringing on change practitioners. Let's talk about the role. What are some
mm,
of the challenges? What level of experience do you really need to bring into this organization? And here's some budget. So go and get your budget first before you go out
yes,
to market. Really
yeah,
try get the budget that you need for the right skill set that you need.
yeah.
Mm.
Right. So the other topic that I got a lot of DMs about was the impact that AI is having in the recruiting process. So some of the concerns were that nobody is actually looking at resumes anymore. It's all automated, and so unless you are
Yeah,
optimized for
yeah. All the words in your CV to get through some sort of machine.
yeah,
I went to
yeah,
a seminar with recruiters, and every single one of us were like, a recruiter still looks at the CVs. It might have to
Hmm.
go through a system first. There will be word identifiers, of course, but there is
Hmm.
a human looking at your CV. Now, one thing that I've started to see, and I want, like, I love AI in terms of your CV
Yeah.
and your summary, and you can actually very much zhuzh it for your executive summary. But I'm starting to see a pattern in the languages. And I'm
Yeah.
starting to see things where there's a lot of fluffy words that don't really mean anything. And so I go back to what I said right at the beginning: clear and concise. Be really clear and concise in your CV. If you use AI, read it to make sure that it makes
Yeah.
sense, because I've seen CVs where I've gone, what is that? I don't even know what that is. So they're trying to use all of these AI words, or AI's come up with these words, said, this is how you should write your CV, and it doesn't make any sense. And to me, that's a
Yes.
red flag to say, well, you potentially haven't even done that. So use it for sure, but also be savvy and smart. There are humans reading this. There will
Okay.
always be buzzwords. You can put
Hmm.
that into your summary at the top to make sure you talk about, I've you know, enterprise change, if you've done global work, making sure that there's all these things that will go in there to show the breadth and depth you've got, but actually go in there and reread your CV and look at the
Mm.
projects you've done, what you have done, what the outcome is, and don't let AI write your whole CV.
Yeah. Because I often think a CV is an example of your change communication.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yes.
if if I'm seeing the word salad in the
Yep.
CV
Yep.
and the puffy words,
Yep.
then that's probably telling me how you're going to be communicating change.
Yep.
You know, I think we've had this conversation a couple of years ago or
Yep.
something when the power of using visuals and icons and things like
Yes.
that,
Yep.
which again is reassuring in some organizations that this person knows how to present their CV in a way that's visually compelling, but in others it won't even get through
It
the,
won't get through.
yeah,
It won't get
yeah,
through, and it doesn't get cut through because it's not giving enough information.
yes, yes,
It's too high
yes,
level.
yes,
So the CV is all around getting in front of that hiring manager, or getting
yeah,
past someone who's reading your CV who's not a change practitioner. So that's another really
yes.
good point: is when you do your CV, give
Mm.
it to someone who is not a change practitioner to read. And if they read it and they're like, I can understand what that
Ah,
project was, what you actually
clever.
did, then it's probably going to get past this talent acquisition manager who is not a
Yeah,
change expert, who's working on 30 or 40 different type roles. It will be
yeah,
clear to them as well. So if you give
clever.
it to someone and they read it and they go, I still have no idea what you do, then you've failed at your CV. Don't give it to
That
your mum. Your mum will always say, it's beautiful, love. Don't give it to your mother. Give it to someone
I
totally
think
irrelevant, out of change.
I think that is the most valuable thing that we're going to pull out of this podcast, to be
Oh,
honest.
excellent.
I,
Don't give
I
your
think
CV to your
that's
mum.
um I think that's amazing. So you mentioned your crystal ball at the beginning is a
Oh,
little
yeah,
bit
yeah,
opaque now.
yes, yep.
What's your thoughts on where is the change profession heading next? What are the cards telling you? The tea leaves.
Yeah, the tea leaves. I have spoken to a lot of clients over the last couple of months, and instead of, and this is probably more because of the AI programs of work that they're working
Yeah.
on, but a lot of change practitioners who have a very strong behavioral science, psychology background. So it's getting to that ways of working, the people, how do we change and adopt instead of, sorry, and how do we adapt versus just
Mm,
adopt a project? So I know one client, she specifically has said to me, I will always look at people who've done a lot of behavioral change or
mm,
psych backgrounds, because with the projects we're working on it, the technology side's almost irrelevant. It's around
mm,
how do we get our people to be comfortable in an environment that is changing weekly.
mm,
We're not getting to the end of our project and planting a flag and having muffins and going, whoopee, because guess what? That technology, almost from an AI perspective, is now obsolete. So it's that behaviors, how do we change these behaviors? We're working with 4 different generations in an
Mm,
environment. How do we communicate this to those 4 different generations that's going to resonate with them? So yeah, that's something I am seeing a bit more of, people being a bit more interested in those psych, behavioral, and again, human-centered design, lean,
mhm,
agile. How do we um, expand how we're working on our projects and having a bit more depth around how we're engaging our people, versus I just want to have someone who's a great, you know,
mm.
tech implementation change practitioner. There's more things we need to add to our bow going forward.
Yeah. If I think about the conversations I'm hearing through our customers and
Yep.
students, it's that and the importance of being able to cut through in an audience that is exhausted and saturated and where there's too much change going on.
Yeah.
And I don't think always the role of the change practitioner, it's practical or realistic that you're going to get hired to slow down the change going on, right? That is a conversation at a very senior level, and certainly senior level change practitioners who are working on prioritization offer value in that space.
Mm,
At the next level, you often don't get the opportunity, but what you've got to need to know how to do is create that cut through, right?
yeah.
Because if not, you're not going to have a story to tell on your
Yeah.
CV for the next role that you apply for.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's what's really standing out for me. Alrighty, this has been fabulous. So, summarizing, it is a tough market at the moment. It is a slower market than what you have seen in the past, but
Yes.
it is on an upwards trajectory,
Very
right?
slow. Yes. Thomas
Very
the Tank
slow.
Engine slow. Can get to the
That,
top. Yep.
that's it, right? I think I can. I
I
think I
think I
can.
can.
I think I can. Um, the value in the CVs is about relevance and clarity.
Yes.
Um, how clear can you make your CV? How relevant can you make your CV? There is the wisdom that I've pulled out of this around don't be applying for everything that's on the market. So do be judicious. And I would say that just for your own mental health, right? If you're
Yeah,
applying for
absolutely.
everything on the market
Yeah.
and getting
Reject
knockbacks,
back. It's hard. It's
it's
horrible.
it's really
So,
horrible.
yeah. Yeah.
It's
So
it's
be targeted.
yeah. There are ample opportunities out there, whether they are budget-friendly courses like ours or Google and free webinars and things like that. So there should be no reason why you are not taking yourself to the next level,
Yeah.
and you can integrate that into your CVs to explain how you are different
How? Yeah.
to other people.
Yeah. Absolutely. There will be a lot more want and desire to differentiate differentiate yourself around what approaches you can take
Amazing.
on a project. Yeah.
Amazing. Tracy, you've been incredibly generous, and I want to acknowledge this was short notice. I pinged you and said, "Can we do this?"
Yeah,
Um,
but we did have lunch and we did talk about
okay,
if we could
good.
have more time to talk about everything we could, and this podcast, I think, clarified a lot of questions that you had out of your post
Yes,
last week. So the timing was just absolutely perfect, I think.
excellent. Tracy, what can our audience do for you? You have given a lot of value in this interview. How can our audience help you?
Well, it depends who the audience is. So if you're a hiring manager, I'd love to help you from a change perspective. But if you're a candidate, jump onto my website if you want more tips and techniques on CVs, because I've got that on there. I'm always straight away going, how can I help you? But how you can help me is if you are working on a transformation, you do need to make sure that you have some more people join, day rate, fixed term, perm. Feel free to reach out. If you want market rates, if you want to talk around how best to, uh, look at what you're getting paid, I'm happy to share that information as well. But I'm here as your advocate and vice versa. There's so many amazing candidates who are currently looking. I'd love to be able to find them some work, and it's finding them the right work. I don't want them to
Brilliant.
I don't want them to spray and pray.
No spraying and
No
praying.
spraying and praying.
Let that be the final word on this podcast episode. Tracy Petrie, thank you so much for your time today.
Pleasure,
We
Jen.
appreciate you so much.
Pleasure. Lovely to see you again.